Okay, here we are. This is lesson 3 of how to draw a Gurney Eagle. And as you can see, we made quite a bit of progress on the front end. Um, we're working back from the very front, and I'm changing a couple things on the car because I want to make it look better for my drawing, not better than the car looked originally, just easier, and so that it shows better with pen and ink than the car does in the photograph. Anyway, I'm putting in a light coat of dots, and the reason is I'm going to have to darken it up probably when I get a little bit farther along. But what we're doing is just trying to lay down a base coat of color so that it looks like some kind of relative color has been added to it, and that way I can figure out where we are and how much darker it has to be, and or if this is dark enough, and then if I have to darken up something against it to keep the balance, the tonal values correct on it, or so that they look good. And this is the point at which I usually change things around a little bit. I usually end up with cars being a little bit darker than they really are in the photographs. And the reason is because I don't have color to use. I have to use black and white. And I don't have a white, all I have is an ink. So the ink is black, and therefore I have to darken things in order to emphasize other things, the light parts. So that's what I'm doing right now, is trying to figure out just exactly how dark it's going to be and how light it's going to be in the other areas that I reserve for highlights. And you can see one of them right there too, just to the left of my thumb. You can see that little spot, and that's a highlight that's reflecting off the body of the car. And I'm going to leave that alone, and there'll be a couple more on the side here probably too. But I'm trying to make it as dramatic as I can, and this is where it really comes in, that you decide what you want to do with the car. And in my case, I want to make it look as good as I can, and I want to make it look dramatic so that it kind of jumps out at you off the paper. And to me, that's what a drawing's supposed to be. People are supposed to like it. It's supposed to be struck by it and say, "Wow, that looks great," or something. That's a very pretty car, something like that. So the best way to do that is to make it look as dramatic as possible and make it look exciting. And excitement comes from having a wide range of tonal values. It's just like if you only use 3 notes in a song, it's going to be kind of boring. If you only use 2 colors or 2 tonal values, it's going to be the same thing. So you want to vary things and make them look more interesting by having a wide variety of tones in the car. And so the parts that I'm putting down now, just think of it as like primer below a paint job. And this is just the start of where it's going to be, very likely. In some cases, it may be the final value that's going to be on there. But you don't know until you put it down and compare it to everything else on the car. And that's what my usual last run through on the car is looking at it and comparing all the colors one to the other so that it can see what needs to be darker and what can be left alone and what needs to not be colored at all. And so that's where we're going right now. Just trying to establish the base coat on it. But like I say, if you want to call it that, it's the primer. But it seems to be going okay so far. This is such a great looking race car. I just love these things. They look so cool. And Dan Gurney and all the guys who drove these cars too did so well with them. At one point, he had a huge part of the field were Gurney Eagles at Indy, and there's good reason, because they were really classy cars, and just as fast as could be. There are still quite a few of them in museums and things that people did had unbelievable success in them, because they were a terrific car. Okay, see here we're just going past the number dot, and now we're going to put in the number and just to start on it. But you'll see And this is what I'm doing, is I'm using the 74 on the side here in order to show that this has got a side pod on the car. And that's why the numbers look so weird, because there's a change. That lower portion is rounded, and I'm going to use the number in order to help show that roundness, and that gives you a little bit better idea of what the actual shape of the car is. So that makes it a lot easier for my job, is trying to define what the body looks like. And there are a couple things I'm going to do in there to make it look even more pronounced, but this is, again, just the first coat of it. So it's this is very early on in trying to get this to go. Okay, see you tomorrow.